Dear friends, welcome to an episode of Military Art. In this video, we will talk about the strong American attack that hit the three main Iranian nuclear facilities, launching the United States directly into the war between Israel and Iran. In the early hours of Sunday, June 22, 6 American B-2 bombers dropped a total of 12 GPU-57 bunker buster bombs on one of Iran's most protected sites. The underground nuclear facility was destroyed, and it was not an isolated attack. In addition to Fort Doe, the United States also struck the nuclear facilities at Nathan and Isfahan, two central pillars of Iran's nuclear program, which, according to Israel and the United States, was developing nuclear bombs at these sites. President Trump was quick to declare that these attacks obliterate Iran's nuclear program. However, there is still no confirmation of the extent of the damage caused. Mainly, he reported, a confirmation that, it is important to note, will be very difficult to obtain from independent sources, given the fact that the detonations took place underground and in a highly secret facility, which means that the narrative game will be strong with the United States and Israel saying one thing and Iran saying something else entirely. The attack with B-2 bombers was only possible thanks to Israeli attacks in the previous days, which resulted in the almost complete annihilation of Iranian air defenses. But which Iranian facilities were hit and why did they become the target of such a strong attack by the United States? Starting with Fort and perhaps the most crucial and protected of Iran's nuclear facilities. Located inside a mountain, the site houses about 3,000 of the most sophisticated uranium enrichment centrifuges, essential for the production of fuel with a degree of purity sufficient for nuclear bombs. From the satellite images that are beginning to arrive, the B-2 bombers dropped their 12 GPU-57 bombs on the mountain, opening channels until they reached the facilities 90 meters underground. As I said earlier, the damage is underground, so it will be impossible to confirm the destruction of the facilities. However, even if the enrichment facilities have not been completely destroyed, it is possible that the impact of the explosions has damaged critical equipment, tunnels, and access routes, which will have a major impact on Iran's nuclear program. Nathan, Iran's largest uranium enrichment center, had already suffered devastating attacks before, especially from Israel. Recently, the site was damaged by Israeli airstrikes that destroyed important parts of its electrical infrastructure and will likely directly affect the site's centrifuges. This latest U.S. attack also included the launch of Tomahawk cruise missiles and direct bombing using B-2s, probably targeting some underground facility or building with specially reinforced walls. Isfahan, another target of the attacks, is where Iran stored part of its highly enriched uranium. The facility, which had already been targeted by Israeli bombing, also suffered from the American attack. The site was storing uranium close to the grade required for the manufacture of nuclear weapons, with its destruction representing a severe blow to Iran. Although Iran has suggested that some of the material has been moved to other locations, the impact of this attack may slow the progress of Iran's nuclear plans, as Isfahan offered the best conditions for storing this type of material. In response to the attack, the Iranian regime obviously expressed its outrage, and a few hours later, missiles were launched against Israel, with the Iranian government also declaring that it would respond forcefully with threats of retaliation against American interests in the Middle East, such as attacks on military bases or the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz itself, indicating that Iran does not want to and cannot remain inactive, at the risk of demonstrating internal and external weakness. The situation puts the United States in a delicate position, as a more aggressive escalation could lead to direct military confrontation with Iran, with the potential to start a large-scale war in the Persian Gulf. Now, the big question is, what will Tehran's response be? The regime may try to use its military and proxy warfare capabilities to force a change in the scenario. On the other hand, Iran may also opt for a more strategic path, seeking symbolic retaliation and trying to avoid all-out war with the United States. However, while President Trump believes that the Iranian regime may bow to pressure, some analysts warn of the risk of a prolonged and more aggressive reaction from Iran, which could lead to a large-scale regional conflict, especially if the Iranians carry out their threats and effectively close the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategic straits in the world, through which a third of the liquefied gas and a quarter of all oil consumed on the planet passes. The impact of these actions is uncertain, but what is known is that the attacks have irreversibly changed the landscape in the Middle East. The Iranian nuclear program has suffered a severe blow, but the Tehran regime still has many options at its disposal, and so the war, which until now was restricted to Israel and Iran, is now spreading to the United States and may be far from over. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss any news. Please do not close the video without first viewing the message from our sponsors.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Do you want to develop your personal side but are too lazy to read? I present to you the audiobook of the channel The Voice from the Inside, 7 chapters that will help you develop in the least tedious and boring way possible. This audiobook was designed for you who want to absorb good content. but because of procrastination can't read one book a year, this book is the first step. After that, you'll listen to another and then another, and the sky will be the limit for you. I'll teach you how to absorb knowledge from movies and series and apply it in real life. I'll tell you the secret to using the power of anger to your advantage instead of exploding from the stress of everyday life and not letting it dominate you. Use the gift of your mind to get your ideas off paper and into reality. Learn to overcome anxiety and never need a psychologist again in your life. I guarantee that as you dive into this chapter, you'll discover timeless strategies that the ancients used to overcome fears, face armies, kings, and even empires based on biblical examples. Master any negotiation or conversation with the power of communication. And understand the importance of discretion and how it can be useful in both your personal and professional life. Free yourself for a future full of possibilities. Gain power through voice from the inside. Listen now and start your journey of transformation. The link is in the comments.